Hey guys.
Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sit here.
All right, let's get started. Good evening. The January 22nd, 2026 Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. Dalton Barton, that's me. Red Brown. Here. Daniel Dunn. Here. Anita Eisenberg.
Here.
Nicholas Gregg. Jim Hansen. Julie Jefferson. Dominic Masseri. Here. Scott Van Dalen. Here. Commissioner Hanson. Here.
Yeah, it's hard to find parking.
Turn the gator and throw it off. All right, please join me for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's time for department update. Director Personia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, everybody. I trust commissioners, you all had a good holiday. Some time off from meeting. Tonight is our final scheduled public hearing on the comp plan update for passing your recommendations on to the county council. Just a brief update. We've been updating the council as we go along, as you know, with this. And so I think next week they're meeting on the 27th. Committee of the whole will be looking at chapter 4 capital facilities and chapter 5 utilities. And then also be discussing the UGAs again. I think in particular the non-municipal UGAs, that's Cherry Point, Birch Bay and Columbia Valley, as well as I believe Blaine, Nooksack. I think those are the ones that are up for discussion.
What was the first chapter you noted before utilities?
Capital facilities.
Just 5. Capitals.
The chapter 4, utilities is chapter 5.
Thank you.
Passed on your recommendations on the annual code amendments at their council's first meeting in January. Council passed those and they'll be considering your Lummi Island code amendment recommendations next week as well. There'll be public hearing on that. So update, just a quick update for you. Want to congratulate Commissioner Van Dalen for being reappointed to the Planning Commission. there were no other applicants for Kelvin for your position, so that is still open. And my understanding is that Julie Jefferson did not reapply for her position. So, and Julie just notified us a little bit ago that she couldn't be here tonight. She's ill. So, so there'll be two positions open at your first meeting, your business meeting, which would be your next scheduled public meeting. In February would be your annual business meeting. There will be two open positions at that time. So council staff will be re-advertising those two positions to try to get more applicants for that. So, so tonight I'll be very brief because it looks like we got a packed house. So we want to get right to the hearing as quick as we can. So I've got, unless you guys have any questions.
Go ahead, Commissioner Terry.
I know you can't say for sure, but how long do you anticipate council potentially sitting with the comp plan before they pass it?
Well, I can't say that. Don't speak for them. But, you know, I think having gone through this sequential review for the last 6 months or so, I think they're pretty well versed in a lot of the elements. They're very well versed in the UGA issues and the flood issues. So we've been having continual meetings with them. Two new council members were elected and they are in the audience tonight. I will not embarrass them by introducing them. But we've started to have briefings with them and we'll have more briefings with them as well to get them up to speed on a lot of those issues. So I would imagine it's going to be a couple of months. We're still targeting spring of this spring to get final council adoption. After you guys make your final recommendations tonight, staff will then package that up with the findings and send those to Commerce. We have to do that at least 60 days in advance of anticipated adoption. So that would give council a couple of months to digest and get through the rest of the elements. Okay.
All right. Time now for open session for public comment. Eileen is our planning commission coordinator. Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. Welcome to the meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live. The audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. As noted on our website, members of the public may watch the meeting or join online or by phone. During the open public comment session, speakers may not speak to the items that are scheduled on the agenda for public hearing tonight. That would be the entire comprehensive plan. So you may not speak on that at this time. There will be a public hearing session for that, and we will announce it when that happens. During this time, you are given 3 minutes to speak. We will go with those in the room first, and then we will move to the attendees online. If you are participating remotely and would like to speak, virtually raise your hand. We will get to you shortly. And if you're using the internet, press the hand icon to raise your hand. If you're calling in by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. So is there anyone in the room that wishes to speak during this open public comment session? Seeing no hands, Chair, I'm going to move to the attendees. Those attending online, if you wish to speak during this open public comment session, please raise your hand. Chair, seeing no hands.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. It's now time for commissioner comment. Commissioner comment. Seeing none, then let's move on. Approval of minutes, and we have 4 of them, December 4th, December 11th, 16th, and 18th.
I could second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Hanson,
Here.
Wasseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
That passes.
And so now we're on to our meeting topic.
We do 4 of them. We do 4 sets of.
Yes.
I think we just approved
We
one.
approved all 4.
Oh, man, okay.
It's called efficiency.
Yeah, it's dang.
So, wait. All right, it's time for the meeting topic, which is the public hearing and work session. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Mark. I'm not sure if you're presenting or if it's
Matt is gonna present
Oh, yeah.
overview for you, and then we can, if there's any questions, we can have questions and then open the public hearing.
Matt is hidden up there, and so
All right. For the record, my name is Matt Ahmet with Whatcom County Planning and Development. And the Growth Management Act requires Whatcom County to review and revise its comprehensive plan to address Growth Management Act changes since the last update in 2016. And then there's a number of other changes that have been proposed to address county policy and just new information. County Planning and Development Services Department brought each individual chapter to the Planning Commission to conduct public hearings and hold work sessions in 2025. And the Planning Commission is holding a final public hearing this evening and making recommendations to the County Council on the whole comprehensive plan, including several items from the Foothill Subarea Plan that the Commission reviewed as part of the Columbia Valley UGA proposal. So yesterday, staff sent an email relating to urban and community forests. GMA now requires designating such forests in local comprehensive plans, but does not define the term. So in Chapter 2, we have a new section on urban and community forests that explains what they are and provides a criteria for mapping them. And these provisions basically indicate that urban and community forests are on public lands greater than 5 acres and over 75% tree canopy. And we discussed this previously at Commission. So we're not proposing any changes to that. However, the definition of urban and community forest in the draft Comprehensive Plan Appendix A glossary is not in alignment with the language in Chapter 2. And therefore, we're recommending Planning Commission delete the definition of urban and community forest from Appendix A. The GMA says comp plans have to be internally consistent. So therefore, we'd recommend deleting that definition in the glossary. And then this afternoon, we sent an email relating to Appendix I, which is the housing needs analysis. And this appendix currently includes information on land capacity for permanent housing, but not for emergency housing. So PDS is asking the Planning Commission to add language to Appendix I stating that a land capacity analysis was conducted for each UGA to compare the total emergency shelter beds needed in that UGA to the land capacity for such beds. And these analyses show that there's adequate land capacity to accommodate the emergency shelter beds located in each UGA. So we just got the last of those emergency housing land capacity analysis sheets from the cities today. So that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, we'd try to address those.
Commissioners, any questions for Matt? Commissioner McFerry.
Yeah, I saw that email you said about the emergency shelter beds. I don't think you didn't send all the analysis
I can
of
send
that
those.
with that, right?
No, I can
It
send
was
those.
kind of just like, we did it and we looked good, but I don't know, everything else, we kind of got to see the numbers.
I can send those to you.
Any other questions, clarifying questions for Matt? All right, let's move on to the public hearing. Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. As stated before, this meeting is being broadcast live and will be uploaded to our website. Seeing as there's many of you, you are given 3 minutes and please stick with those 3 minutes. I will let you know and I will have the timer on the board. We will start with those in the room first and then we will move to those online. If you are participating online, as a reminder, if you're zooming in through the internet, please raise your hand, use a hand icon. If you are calling in by phone, press *6 or *9, I apologize. So we will start in the room first. I will call the names. Peter Frazier, do you wish to speak at this time?
I do.
Members of the Planning Commission, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to make 2 related points today. And a note, I have submitted a written comment letter for the record, co-signed by multiple parties that addresses the second point I'm going to make in more detail. First on South Youth. I have submitted several written and oral comments over the last few months outlining the full analysis. So I summarized the core planning rationale here. Southview is contiguous with the existing city and directly connected to the same transportation, utility, and service corridors that support nearby urban neighborhoods. From a land use and infrastructure standpoint, it already functions as part of the urban system and is key to unlocking land to build thousands of homes in the Samish area. Southview has been identified for decades as a logical location for future urban growth, yet planning for it has been deferred. That deferral has not reduced growth pressure, it has constrained effective land supply and pushed development into less suitable locations throughout the county, increasing costs and limiting housing options. Including Southview in the UGA does not require immediate development. It allows realistic long-range planning for land supply and infrastructure in an area that is already urban adjacent. Excluding it delays those decisions until they are forced by market pressure when choices are fewer and outcomes are more expensive. The second point is the proposed comprehensive plan amendment clarifying county-city coordination for the UGA reserve planning. The City of Bellingham's 2025 comprehensive plan includes explicit policies requiring advanced planning for UGA and UGA reserve areas prior to annexation, including analysis of land use, infrastructure needs, and the costs of providing urban services. That obligation is now clearly established on the city side. What remains unclear is the county's role in that process. The proposed amendment clarifies coordination expectations so that long-range infrastructure, service, and cost planning occurs prior to the next buildable lands analysis. For use Southview and future growth areas, this coordination is essential to predictable, cost-effective planning. Taken together, including Southview in the UGA and clarifying UGA reserve coordination supports intentional growth management rather than reactive decision-making. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you for your comment. Dan Tucker.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dan Tucker with the Whatcom Working Waterfront Coalition, and I wanted to speak this evening. If I can get my tablet to go right side up here. So we currently have protections built in for agriculture lands, and it's throughout one of the chapters. I could not tell you which one right now looking at it. But you talk a lot about how important agriculture is as a driver and how important it is to make sure that we maintain space for that. We also need to do that for our industries in town and in the county as well to make sure that we have space for them by 2045. Per the port's economic study last year, we're going to need between 700 and 900 more acres of industrial land that we don't have. So we're really here to make sure that there is due consideration given when we talk about rezoning, especially downzoning industrial lands in the UGA. We went through a very extensive process. I'm sure a lot of you remember last year coming up with actually a pretty decent compromise to make sure that those industries and those areas maintaining compatibility with where they are. But we worry that in downzoning those in 10, 20 years, the businesses that are then in non-compliance or non-conforming uses are going to move out. Businesses that do conform will move in, and that zone will never be able to host the types of industries that we are going to want in the county by 2045 to create the jobs and opportunities and even diverse employment that is outlined in the comp plan as being required by that time with the growth that we're anticipating. So it's important that we keep that land as high impact industrial and maintain the compromises that we so diligently worked on last year. And I would like to ask the commission to consider putting that into the comp plan to make sure that that compromise is honored. A lot of businesses went through a lot of negotiation to try and make that work in the business community and the working class community that doesn't want to see, because what will happen, and we're afraid, is that that will become light industrial. The light industries move in there, and then it becomes in 10 years when all the heavy stuff is moved out, even more easy to rezone it to residential in long term. And that does not help with the economic land study that the port put out. So It's important to trust in the review processes. It's important to trust experts. When we see things like this that are driven by community fears of what might be in an area, we want to make sure that we're listening to the experts who do the economic reviews, who do the determinations to make sure that they're trusted when they make the determinations that things are safe. So we're asking for that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Chris Secrets.
Good evening, I'm Chris Seacrest, president of the Osier Company. The Osier Company owns 26 acres of heavy impact industrial owned land, or land in the what we used to call the Marine Drive industrial area. And that goes back 20, 30 years ago when we went through a process with the county when there were efforts to downzone the area because of proximity to the residential areas. And at that point, they were able to convince the people that were working on the project that not to proceed with it. Yet here we are again, looking at a comp plan recommendation to downzone that heavy impact industrial area, which is part of the Alderwood area that the city's working on annexing. Their 2019 plan outlines how they intend to annex that area into the city. And at any rate, Osier currently leases the land to Bell Lumber and Pole. Bell Lumber and Pole has submitted written comments, which I reviewed to the commission, and I endorse all their comments wholeheartedly. Many of which I've testified at county council meetings and planning commission meetings before. The only thing I wanted to kind of throw out that, never has really been discussed that I thought of is, had the city during this period worked on developing heavy impact like industrial zoning in the city's codes, that we were talking about, conforming the current HII to what the city envisions that this property can be used for in the future. That might have been alternate to where we are today, where it's just kind of a either or situation, which I really hope that we have an opportunity to work with the county council if recommendations move ahead as appear to be outlined in the draft that I looked at to downzone the property. And thank you for the chance to address the meeting. Good luck.
Thank you for your comment. Matt Lai. Did I get that right? Your last name?
Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Matt Lloyd. I'm a resident of Whatcom County, and I'm the operations manager at Bell Pole, which is one of the properties that could be impacted by the proposed comprehensive plan changes. I have worked at this facility for 30 years and would like to provide some background about Bell and explain the impacts the revision to policy 2U9 could have on Bell's operations. I would also like to briefly summarize the public comment letter that Bell submitted to the Planning Commission this morning. Bell is a good neighbor and a responsible member of the community. Through our zero impact program at Bell, we have also had a strong commitment to the environment. We produce critical infrastructure components for our electrical grid in the region and across the US and Canada. Life cycle assessments show that we provide sustainable products to utilities, which reduce carbon release to the environment when compared to alternative materials. Bell understands that the county and the city of Bellingham have been working for years to change the comprehensive plan and the code to prohibit certain heavy industrial uses adjacent to residential areas. We believe that there are better solutions to this problem than changing the zoning and prohibiting uses. County should consider other ways to address this issue that do not threaten existing businesses in the heavy industrial. Businesses like Bell are also members of the community, and impact to their businesses should be considered in the county's decision. Downzoning the Bellingham UGA would limit Bell's ability to operate at this site long term. The comp plan revisions under consideration could lead to zoning changes that limit Bell's ability to upgrade its equipment as technology advances and make operational improvements. Additionally, as described in our comment letter, Bell has concerns about the process the county has used to update the comprehensive plan. The land use capacity analysis does not appear to have been completed using methodology approved in the mid-November 2025. And the county has not provided adequate time for the public to review the latest housing needs analysis that was revised as recently as January 6th, but was not made publicly available until the afternoon of January 14th. The Planning Commission should not take action based on an outdated analysis and rushed process. Bell opposes any county proposal that renders Bell's use of its property non-conforming. Bell urges the county to take all its community members into account in making the decision.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Coleman Hoyt.
Hello, Commission. My name is Coleman Hoyt. I'm the Environment and Sustainability Manager for Heidelberg Materials. And I'd like to speak today on some language currently in the comprehensive plan. Heidelberg values and respects the Planning Commission, the County Council, and our neighbors in the community. However, we are concerned with the way the comprehensive plan has been developed. We are concerned particularly with item 2U-9, which sets as county policy a requirement to consider the rezoning of the Alderwood UGA heavy impact industrial zone to light impact industrial. Additionally, we're aware plans to use this policy to immediately rezone our property upon adoption of this comprehensive plan. I have a long list of reasons why downzoning and gentrification can be harmful to the community, but I think a lot of other folks will be speaking to this tonight or already have. So instead, I'd like to focus on a particular thing that we in the industry world call the grandfather trap. It is true that we would be grandfathered into any rezone, meaning that our business would be allowed to continue as a non-conforming use. However, grandfather status is not always what it seems. It is not permission to continue as normal. It is a freezing of operations as they are now. Once we are grandfathered, any significant change to our facility, any improvement to our process or our systems would trigger a conditional use permit. That process forces us to undergo years of extensive and expensive studies, and it forces us to go before a hearing examiner where we have no guarantee of receiving our permit. And as a business, we cannot continue without the flexibility to improve and update. And I promise you, I'm not crying wolf here. This has happened to us in the past in this state. The public hearing process can be easily swayed by politics, small groups of well-funded individuals. Forcing a conditional use permit onto a business that has been in continual operation for over 100 years and which already abides by all applicable environmental regulations is not only bad practice, it is effectively commercial expulsion delayed over a few years. We therefore respectfully request that policy 2U-9 be struck from the comprehensive plan until a credible and publicly available economic impact analysis is provided.
Thank you for your comment. Brian Gass.
Evening, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Brian Gass. I live here in Bellingham, right down the street, actually. Want to preface this by saying that I've unfortunately learned a lot about the plans and the UGAs and what, and they really are a joke. I can't put it any other way. They're not real. Everything they talk about doesn't happen. There's no accountability. They actually are considering only the government's gonna come up with a growth plan that shrinks everything. It's kind of funny. They don't see the irony in it. But here's the problem. You can look at your friends in Bellingham who had a 20-year plan 20 years ago, said they had 10,000 detachable single-family home lots they could to build, and they permitted 2,400. They also said that they were going to annex all 15 UGAs 20 years ago. You know how many they annexed? 0. And I can't believe that the county is allowing them to get away with it again by allowing all those 15 UGAs to still be in their growth plan. They didn't even annex Northern Heights that they said they were going to do 10 years ago. They kicked it out. And how I know they have no intention of annexing anything is that when they're dumping money into the what do you call it? Sorry, greenways lands, which are supposed to be for open space. You know how many acres they bought in any one of those UGAs? Bellingham did 42 in Geneva, I think. All right. These people are talking about U Street. Let's talk about U Street. Do you guys know that you're including Bellingham in the northern U Street, but you're kind of like totally soft pedaling the fact they own 50% of the land there that is right up against the property of the city, which makes it the easiest property to probably get services from. They're doing the same thing with U Street South. They own 50% of what's left down there in U Street. And they're using Greenways money to hoard the money, to hoard the land there. So what I want people to realize is let's just tell the truth. Let's not lie about these growth plans. Let's not lie about these UGAs that don't exist. You have no intention of allowing Bellingham to expand. They're not going to expand. And it's going to squeeze everybody inside, which makes all the property more expensive. There's probably not a single study out there that says density by itself lowers housing prices. It doesn't. There isn't a single study. You have to add growth in income and a natural expansion of capacity, of which the entire county in Bellingham are doing 0 of that. And I'm going to tell you this, when it comes to planning, how do you think you're going to get that infill if you can't, if you're getting all these restrictions? Because when you start with this land use capacity, you count all this stuff that's wetlands, all this stuff that's not buildable, you count that in that number. And then you have to go out there to the planning department and beg to get your stuff built. So I'm saying you guys got to be realistic about this, because it's going to come down to probably a lawsuit or something for basically false advertising. That's all I say. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Dwayne Inglesman?
Sorry. Evening, commissioners. My name is Dwayne Inglesman. I'm a developer in Whatcom County, in particular Birch Bay. And just again, I'm going to be talking mainly about Birch Bay. The Birch Bay UGA faces very extreme challenges. And even with the formation of the Birch Bay Advisory Committee, it appears that the requests and recommendations are falling on deaf ears. The community of Birch Bay needs a variety of housing types to accommodate all levels of affordability. Everybody wants an affordable and developable lands and a place to call home. Finding developable lands in Birch Bay to meet the population expectations for the next 20 years requires a realization that we are living in very unique times. We are still feeling the impacts of the 2019 pandemic and supply chain shortages. Building costs have increased significantly. The internet and the changing work environment, people are working from home, border closures, electric cars, driverless cars. Many things have changed. Washington State is facing a severe housing shortage. If we focus in on the Birch Bay UGA, we will find that 3 subdivisions, 2 of which were brought online prior to 2007, provided the majority of the lots for bulk construction since 2020, namely Malibu, Horizon, and Division A of Whisper Lake. Since 2020, the average number of new builds in Birch Bay was 40 homes per year. However, build out came to an abrupt stop in 2025 because there was no further bulk lots to be built out. Division 2 of Horizon and Whisper Lake will bring on 154 homes. That supply might last a maximum of 3 years.
It took over 15 years to bring the Whisper Lake project from application to buildable lots. The remaining lots from the Horizon development are dedicated for multifamily apartments, and the developer has no immediate plans to develop this type of product because of demand concerns. There are 3 current projects that are outside the outskirts of the Birch Bay urban growth area. These 3 projects are requesting to be included in the Birch Bay UGA. The 3 projects will bring approximately 300 affordable home housing options to the supply of the Birch Bay UGA and the county. Tax revenue will be in excess of 1.5 million per year from these 3 projects alone. Birch Bay happens to be one of the largest property tax contributors to the county. I asked each one of you, when you were growing up, did you grow up in a house with a yard? Family values have not changed. The average person still wants to be able to live and own a single family home. Do not deny the public and especially the Birch Bay UGA to keep
Thank you for your
prospering
comment.
and allow Birch Bay to be a great place to live. Thank you for your time.
Peter Condile?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Peter Condelius. I'm with Toyer Strategic Advisors. My colleague David Toyer submitted a letter with extended remarks to you guys earlier this evening. We work with Heidelberg Materials, and we started working with them in the fall of 2024 when we were here at the Planning Commission to work to address some of the concerns that the neighbors in the Alderwood neighborhood had regarding the HII land. We worked with the Planning Commission, then we worked with the County Council, and ultimately a working group was put together with the neighborhood in the fall of 2024. We had a meeting with them, talked about the concerns that they had, different solutions that there were, and ultimately a work product was passed by the County Council that we didn't love, they didn't love, we didn't hate, they didn't hate. It was the ultimate compromise. But we were told that it was a temporary solution and that it would be readdressed with the comp plan. So we stayed engaged, and over the last year, I've checked in periodically with county staff, county planning commissioner, county council members, just to see where the status was. And we were told over the last year that, well, we're not sure we're going to get to it because there's a lot of other things on the comprehensive plan docket that we need to talk about. Well into the fall, that was the answer that we got, that we were not sure we were going to get to it, and that the temporary solution from last year that everybody could live with was going to be the one that was settled on. A few weeks ago, we learned that that was not the case and that policy 2U-9 was being inserted into the comp plan. Everybody else that works at Heidelberg has done a great job explaining the consequences of that and what that could mean for Heidelberg and the other heavy impact industrial tenants through there. What I'll say tonight is that our request of you is to have a conversation specifically about 2U-9 and then vote on that specifically, because I think that there's a lot of things within the comp plan that are good, but this policy really needs to be addressed and really needs to be taken out of there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Greg Zimmerman?
Good evening. My name is Craig Zimmerman. I'm a proud employee of Heidelberg Materials for the past 11 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here because I'm concerned about the proposal to change the heavy industrial lands. Decisions like this directly affect workers like me and the future of industry that supports families in our county for generations. I'm fortunate to have a good, stable, blue-collar job, but jobs like mine are becoming more rare in Whatcom County. Heavy industrial provides a path for strong wages and long-term careers for people who work with their hands, people who want to build things, people who want to stay in the community rather than leave the area to find work. We reduce the land. When we reduce the land reserved for the industry, we reduce opportunities for those workers, not just today, but for future generations. Heidelberg Materials has always taken care of their employees. We have a strong safety record. We haven't had a major accident since 2002. That's something that the company is proud of. That's something that I am proud of. But it's not just the workers. Heidelberg is essential to the regional infrastructure and construction economy. Our operation supplies of cement used in almost every house foundation, sidewalk, apartment building, and road in Whatcom County. When people talk about housing affordability, infrastructure improvements, development costs, materials like ours are huge in that equation. The next closest cement terminal is Seattle, 90 miles away. That means the local supply is reduced or restricted. We would be relying on long distance transportation, which would increase emissions, raise the cost of to contractors and homeowners, and slow down projects the community depends on. It's also important to understand that Heidelberg is one of only 2 manufacturers in Washington state that make cement. Every other cement terminal relies on imported materials. That means our ability to grow is restricted. Washington becomes more dependent on imports for a critical construction material that has economic consequences and environmental consequences. By limiting heavy industrial lands, we limit the future of the industry to keep our local economy balanced. We risk pushing out companies that have operated here for safely and responsibly for decades. And when the industry can't expand, modernize, or plan for long-term, it eventually can't survive. That means fewer family wage jobs and people in the community, more imported materials, and less control over our local supply chain. I respectfully ask the Planning Commission to consider the real impacts of restricting heavy industrial land, not just on business, but on the workers, the local economy, and the essential services we support. Protecting spaces for the industry is also protecting local jobs, local materials, and local families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. David Parsons?
All right. Good evening. My name is David Parsons. I'm a local manager at the Heidelberg cement plant here. Craig stole my thunder a little, but here we go. Cement plant in Bellingham has been critically important to the construction and development of our community for well over 100 years. Heidelberg supports the local community in a lot of ways, donating the pier at Squalcom Park and financial donations to Alderwood Elementary, to name a few. Cement that's produced at the Bellingham plant is used by all the local concrete plants. Concrete is in everything. It's the foundation of where we live: roads, bridges, sidewalks, commercial buildings, stormwater and sewer systems. It's in our airports and hospitals, etc. A couple of recent projects that our products have gone into is the hospital expansion and the parking garage at the hospital, the Lighthouse Mission Building. If this cement didn't come from the Bellingham plant, it would have to be trucked from the Seattle or Vancouver, BC market. Most of the cement at the Seattle market comes from China or Vietnam, where it's produced with far less environmental regulations. The cement is shipped across the ocean and would have to be trucked to Whatcom County. The carbon footprint of this cement is significantly higher than what we produce at the Bellingham plant. This will cause significantly higher concrete prices and higher environmental impact for every yard of concrete poured in our community. I'd like to see the studies and research that show that this makes sense for the residents of Whatcom County. I realize changing from heavy industrial zoning to light industrial may not shut us down immediately, but it feels like the beginning of the end. It will cause us to be non-conforming use, making it difficult to make changes to our operation. It will also influence Heidelberg's willingness to invest in this plant. This would be very unfortunate, as we are currently working on a project that, if implemented, would further reduce the environmental impact of concrete products in our area. Heidelberg has another project that Bellingham plant is being considered for that would make Bellingham cement plant the first net zero carbon cement plant in the United States. I'm happy to discuss those projects with anybody if they're interested. The industrial companies in this area, including Heidelberg, built and invested in this area because it's zoned heavy industrial, with good access to rail, truck routes, and utilities. A lot of work and coordination with these companies should take place before any zoning changes are implemented. As a lifelong resident of Whatcom County, I'm asking you to please leave the zoning change out of the comprehensive plan until the proper studies and research have been done to determine that it's really what's best for Whatcom County. I believe the long-term effects of restricting these industries will result in fewer family wage jobs, higher costs, and more environmental impact for residential, commercial, and infrastructure projects. All of this feels like we're going in the wrong direction from what most of the people in Whatcom County would want to see.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Bridget Burt.
Hi, I'd like to thank you first for the opportunity to comment and for all your hard work throughout this planning process. I've watched quite a few of these meetings online and it's quite clear how much care and attention to detail you've all put into this review. My name is Brittany Reich and I'm an attorney at Carmichael Clark in Bellingham. And I'm here tonight on behalf of our client, Kitech USA, and its development arm, Larrabee Springs, to advocate for inclusion of the North Bellingham UGA in the city's urban growth area as adopted in the Bellingham plan back in December. Before I tell you more about Larrabee Springs, I would like to reiterate some written comments submitted by our office on January 16th regarding House Bill 1181 and the greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled reduction requirements under the Growth Management Act. So there have been some comments submitted saying that House Bill 1181 requires jurisdictions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled, but it's really not that simple. House Bill 1181 requires jurisdictions to adopt and implement planning measures with a demonstrated ability to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions and per capita VMT, and direct jurisdictions to utilize guidance developed by the Department of Commerce in selecting those measures. Compliance is evaluated based on implementation of commerce consistent measures and on actual emissions reductions achieved over time. It does not require jurisdictions to include projected or demonstrated reductions in their comprehensive plans. So now turning back to Larrabee Springs. Larrabee Springs has been building sustainable, affordable housing in Whatcom County since the late 1990s. The Larrabee Springs building model has proven to be effective in producing a variety of housing types, including single-family homes, senior housing, and middle housing, including duplexes, townhomes, and small single-story homes. House Bill 1220 amended the Growth Management Act to require jurisdictions to plan for and accommodate housing affordable to all income levels. Over the past few years, Larrabee Springs has provided some of the most affordable new housing in Bellingham. Nearly 70% of homes sold by Larrabee Springs range from 80% to 120% AMI, and 85% of home sales have been to people already living in Whatcom County. To date, Larrabee Springs and its local partners have built over 400 homes for Whatcom County residents, and in the process have created the largest greenbelt solar community in Washington state. Larrabee Springs keeps environmental values at the forefront and has restored over 23 acres of habitat, including the creation and enhancement of wetlands, buffers, and stream corridors. The work completed at Larrabee Springs demonstrates that it's possible to build housing that is environmentally responsible and affordable for local families. We urge you to consider this as you make your recommendations on the county's comprehensive plan and designated urban growth areas. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Before I move to the attendees, is there anyone else that did not sign up that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing no one in the room that wishes to speak, I'm going to move to the attendees. Chair. Bill Geyer, do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes, I do. I'm okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Bill Geyer, Geyer Associates, certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners, here tonight representing Julie Carney, owner of 4610 Lincoln Road. As you know, she has committed 100% of the units to be developed on her site as affordable housing units. The GMA in RCW 36.70A.0702 D Delta lowercase ii requires the county to document programs and actions needed to achieve housing availability, including gaps in local funding, barriers such as development regulations, and other limitations. In the housing element review to the commission, staff omitted the words barriers such as development regulations. Staff also alleges that this area lacks a capital facilities plan, but we know that the county writes the capital facilities plans for unincorporated UGAs. Since June 1 of 2025, we documented that 1, this site is served by Blaine School District. 2, it's served by Whatcom North Fire District. 3, it presently has water service from the Birch Bay Water and Sewer Service District. 4, has been in the Birch Bay Water Sewer District service area for sewers until 09, when the county reduced the UGAs around the area. 5, Birch Bay Water and Sewer District testified to you that they will adjust their service boundaries to reflect the county adopted UGAs. 6, Lincoln Road improvement to Blaine Road has been on the county transportation plan for over 35 years and is currently on the 6-year TIP Transit Improvement Program, which is a budget document. That's because of the regional benefit for this area as well as Semiahmoo traffic. These facts are on record with the staff, the Planning Commission, and recently the county executive. Tonight, the commission can either A, adopt a comp plan that creates a development regulation barrier to affordable housing by keeping 4610 Lincoln Road out of the Birch Bay UGA, or B, the commission can comply with RCW 36.70A.0702DII and include 4610 Lincoln Road in the Birch Bay UGA as an affordable housing site. We request you vote to include 4610 Lincoln Road within the Birch Bay UGA to be compliant with the Growth Management Act. We look forward to your deliberations this evening and request that positive vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Perry Eskridge, do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Go
Thank
ahead.
For the record, my name is Perry Estridge. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Building Industry Association of Whatcom County and the Whatcom County Association of Realtors. The first part of my comments tonight are related to the letter that Peter Fraser submitted to you earlier today, I believe, and spoke to earlier during this hearing regarding a policy change for urban growth area reserves. I want to incorporate that letter into these comments by this reference and just go on to say that the Building Industry Association of Whatcom County and the Whatcom County Association of Realtors urges consideration of the statements in that letter and the policy that is being advocated there. As Peter mentioned, there is a UGA that we've all been talking about, I won't name it, that has been in the UGA for decades. And to say that nobody has planned for it is merely an understatement. This characterization of the UGA reserve is something that was made up in 2016, and it was essentially a pinky promise by the city of Bellingham to plan for it to come in as a formal UGA. As we know through this comprehensive planning process, there has been absolutely no planning from Bellingham, something that they've admitted on numerous occasions. And, I think back to my law school education, the law should not require an idle act. If you're going to pass policy that doesn't require anything, then why pass it at all? And so we hope that policy, or at least the ideas expressed in that letter, deserve some consideration. These next comments are only from the purview of the Whatcom County Association of Realtors. Ironically, today I was watching a hearing with the Whatcom County Business Advisory Committee discussing the Alta Gas MDNS hearing that is set to begin next Wednesday, and talking about how negotiated zoning and ordinances regarding land use and development are looking to be just paper promises anymore. It was about 2 o'clock while I'm watching this hearing. All of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up with, "Have you seen what's happening on Marine Drive?" Coming from the point of a real estate lawyer, I can tell you there is no better way to signal that you are not going to allow something to continue than by putting it into a non-conforming use. You're lucky if your only concern is a conditional use permit process, because we also know your financing becomes incredibly unstable for anything that you hope to improve or expand or do anything. Banks don't invest in something that is speculative at best. Also, your insurance becomes incredibly unreliable. And I urge you to really think about that before you do anything that signals to the building community that you can negotiate all you want, but it can be changed with 2 weeks' notice.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that is attending online that wishes to speak? Please raise your hand. Seeing no other hands, Chair.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. On the record, Commissioner Bright arrived quite some time ago.
Yes, I got it. I received it.
Okay. Commissioner. Commissioner Brown.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to remove 2U9, but I'm just a little confused as to how the language is achieving the concern that the proponents are saying. So I just want to clarify, people are talking about 2U9, correct? Just to read, if I
Yeah,
can just.
2U9, yeah. Consider
2U9 or
2U-9.
Yeah, 2U-9. So 2U-9 did not have a mention of heavy industrial. That's my confusion.
Matt, can you bring that up?
Yep, there we go.
Ooh.
All right, can you make it bigger? Oh, there we go. So that's what I get. So that's my confusion. As to where the mention of heavy industrial is. Yeah, and changing to light, considering.
Yes, I think, I mean, the way that I read this is, coordinated with the city of Bellingham, so county and city. Evaluating benefits and costs, so both sides. Existing proposed industrial zoning. So to be industrial zoning could be light or heavy. It's kind of our two main industrial zones there. In the UGA, considering light impact zoning where appropriate, limited impacts on adjacent urban residents. So really it's about industrial zoning that's near urban areas. And it's, let's have a conversation about whether to change those things. That's how I read that.
Okay, is that your understanding, Director?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I make a motion to strike this, and if I get a second, I'll explain my logic. I'll second for discussion. Right. We have a massive shortage of light industrial or heavy industrial land that is actually usable. There's almost, we just, in the current comp plan, we are approving the removal of about 120 acres of light industrial that's been converted for wetlands mitigation for the BP Cherry Point refinery. So that land's gone forever. I cannot point to a single piece of light industrial land in the county that is vacant, buildable without mitigation. And that mitigation requires a conversion of pasture and farmland in order to mitigate the wetlands. And that is particularly true also out at heavy at Cherry Point, because most of Cherry Point is forested, and most of it is wet. So our responsibility under the GMA is we have to plan for both housing and employment. I don't see why we would be planning for employment reduction rather than employment growth. So.
So when I read this, my understanding of it was, when we originally looked at this back 2024, whenever it was, planning commission struggled with it, went on to council. Sounds like it went on to have more discussion after that. I still understood that process as that was temporary. We were then going to address it during the comp plan. We never did. So when I read this, it was kind of like saying, well, we said we were going to do it. We didn't actually get to it. So this was put in there to say, we're still going to do it. That was my understanding of this.
The original temporary plan.
Yeah, I thought that the original discussion was always temporary. I never liked even having a resolution on there. I thought it should always just wait till the comp plan. I was disappointed we didn't get to it through the comp plan, at least the planning commission hasn't really. But I still seem like the discussion needed to happen, and that's why I thought this language was in here. Not that it was some new change to what was gonna happen, that we were always supposed to do this. That was my at least understanding. Do they understand that differently, or?
Yes, just like rephrase what you're saying, so I make sure I understand it. So your perception was that this wording is that you'd always assume that we were gonna have more of a conversation about this issue. And that what happened was a temporary kind of thing, and that somewhere down the road, we're gonna have to sit down and, you know, bring all the user groups together, stakeholders, be like, what do we do about this thing? And that we didn't really have that conversation in the comp plan, and that the language here might be kind of like a little placeholder, say, let's make sure we have that conversation. Is that right?
Yes, and if this is maybe leading too much to what the outcome or conclusion of that would be, I'm fine to change the verbiage, but it still seems like that discussion more thoroughly needs to happen than just what the temporary compromise was. I thought that it needed to have that whole process somewhat associated with the comp plan, looking at all of the heavy and light industrial in the county, not just looking at that one little area. So I still think the conversation should happen, because that's what I thought the whole process was. If this verbiage is leading or something, I don't mind changing it, but I think that conversation should still happen.
And I mean, I think it wasn't a year ago that we had folks in here, or a group of folks in here who were upset because there was a better recycling plant that was getting put in down there. And you had 20, 30 people who were making it known that they were really against any industry bad, I mean, to paraphrase. So I think now we're seeing it from the opposite side. We have the other stakeholders who are like, hey, listen, sure, industry, but I just haven't seen, like, I feel like that conversation needs to happen of like people who are against a thing, people who are for a thing, and then the electeds, like, need to sit down and say, okay, well, what long term, what are we doing here?
Go ahead, Commissioner Hampton.
Well, I've read this industrial lands capacity report several times, and I think it's very true that we have a shortage of industrial lands. But I don't think that whether these properties have their status changed in some way to require a conditional use is going to solve our industrial lands problem. I think that we seriously need to look at additional areas where we could have larger pieces of land that are available to transportation, utilities, et cetera, so that we can have the places we need for jobs. I don't know if additional industrial capacity in this particular area is a good idea. And I don't particularly want to put the people who are there already out of business. But I think that this idea that the city and the county should get together and figure it out is a good one. And I didn't like the compromise. To me, it was a Frankenstein. We'll have industrial land, but we'll tie their hands behind their back and let them hop on one leg. Just didn't make any sense at all. So somebody needs to sit down and find something that really makes sense. And this seems to me this points in that direction.
And I think my other concern with this is that, if we say, well, we're looking at industrial zoning that's near adjacent to residential, like, that's the port as well, right? I mean, there's cross railroad track, you got Eldridge right there. So are we talking about, like, is it okay that we have a port? Or is that, when the boats move metal down from, South Hill, that was huge. That was a huge issue. I mean, that's by residential. Are we talking about that? Or are we talking about a little narrower scope of, like, that kind of thing? Yeah, good.
Oh, I would just say, after this discussion and reading this, I guess my point of thinking it should be looked at in conjunction with the whole county land base of industrial and heavy industrial, light industrial, heavy. This actually doesn't say that. This does say specifically was looking at Bellingham UGA. So I would actually want that to include looking at it with the entire county in mind. So that if anything, if it's decided to change something here, you're replacing it somewhere else. We're not just losing it. So I don't know that I would strike it, but I definitely think modification to it makes sense.
Go ahead.
I'm in the modification of it, because I personally not in favor of the down zoning thing, concentrating on this one problem area, which is definitely a problem area. We know that. but the importance of these jobs and importing dust from Asia. I mean, there's so many factors here that are just huge, increasing drive down I-5. I gotta go down Monday morning and you know you're gonna plan 4 hours just in case you get stuck in that I-5 mess trying to get to SeaTac. And it's a nightmare. So this does impact all that hugely in my mind. So yeah.
We want to entertain some language. I know we've got a motion on the table, but just for brainstorming, would there be some language that we could agree on about this? Because it sounds like we're saying we want to have a conversation, perhaps. Or do you want to vote on your motion? And
Well, I guess commissioners are more than, you know, what entitled to do what they want, but I think I look at it this way. We have a massive shortage of industrial land, period. I mean, everything we've got at the moment is unbuildable without mitigation. I think we should have that conversation, identifying both where we could build new stuff and how we would mitigate for whatever impacts there are. Have that conversation before we have any conversation about eliminating any existing areas. So this is the cart before the horse. Yes, should you have a heavy industrial plant in the middle of Bellingham? Probably not. But the point is, if you don't provide an alternative that's viable for it to go, then you should stay with what you've got until you do work out the other one. So
more about countywide.
Yeah, there needs to be a countywide approach because, you know, if it's vacant, it's impaired, and if it's neither impaired, it's vacant and not impaired, which I don't believe exists, it has no utility.
It's cataloged already. What's available is cataloged already in this report.
Yeah. So let's solve that problem. I mean, I would strike this now, solve the problem about industrial land supply, and then come back to this at some point in the future.
Commissioner Terry.
Well, I think just striking it then doesn't have anything to initiate that process, right? I think we need to have it, the language in there that says we need to do that conversation and that this should probably be a part of that conversation, is how I feel about it. Just striking it says, you know, don't worry about that. We're gonna do this first, but we never do that, so we don't deal with any of it.
Go ahead.
No, but the thing to understand from a business perspective, the moment you introduce uncertainty about the future of an operation, one of the gentlemen said, you know, they're talking about where they put their capital for doing upgrades. That money will start to stop. We will lose the access to the money to do environmental upgrades, to do efficiency upgrades, because the message is, oh, at some point in the future, we're going to pull the plug.
And can we bring that back up on the screen, Ken? Thank you.
So to me, I think especially with the footnote, just know that this is language the county and city discussed and agreed on is an indicator to me that this conversation is gonna happen, like whether we have this in the plan or not. Like, it's a conversation that's gonna happen between the city and the county and whoever else is there. And if we're not aware of it at the table, then it's all of a sudden you're just gonna get a notice that, hey, something's changed or something, whatever. So I guess to me, I like having something that's a footnote or some kind of a note that says this conversation is gonna happen, because clearly that's, you know, there's no reason to deny it's not gonna happen. But I think maybe we could find some language to say, could we just in the Bellingham UGA, we just put a period after UGA? Delete considering light impact industrial zoning or, so at least it keeps it a little more broad. You could say, according to City of Bellingham, so we're evaluating benefits and costs. We're not deciding anything. We're not saying you have to do this, have to do this. We're saying, well, we're balancing these things. There's good things, bad things about it. And we're looking at both existing and proposed industrial zoning in the Bellingham UGA, period.
Commissioner Terry.
I like it.
Okay.
So I can back that with you.
Would you support then a sentence after that says, in conjunction with a countywide analysis of heavy and light industrial land?
Oh, we've done that. Like the port already did that analysis. I think they did a pretty good job of it.
No, I know, but I want that specific conversation to take into account the countywide.
Oh, the one we've already done.
Yes.
Interesting, yeah.
So that we're not just evaluating on its own, that if anything changes there, it's balanced out somewhere else.
City of Bellingham and Whatcom County as a whole.
Yeah, it's comprehensive.
At the beginning of that paragraph, strike what's after UGA type of thing.
I'll kind of, my opinion on it is that with this language, it's this emphasis on down, consider downgrading. But I think it shouldn't be downgraded without a replacement of heavy industrial. So if you downgrade 20 acres, you have to add 20 acres that works. Well,
That's part of the
20 acres
discussion.
up at Dimming or something.
I was gonna suggest that after period there, we continue and say, and seek additional industrial zoning sites countywide.
1, 2.
Yeah.
And so, and seek. And seek, say it again.
And seek additional industrial zoning sites countywide.
So I'll just read what I have. So it would read, coordinate with the city of Bellingham, evaluating benefits and costs of existing or proposed industrial zoning in the Bellingham UGA, and seek additional industrial zoning sites countywide.
Correct, and then strike
everything else. Do we want to reference is called the industrial land survey, Mark? Is that what the report is?
The industrial land study.
Yeah. You want to reference that?
discussion has to happen. So, I mean, it just has to. We gotta have jobs.
How about this? Coordinate with City of Bellingham, evaluate benefits and costs of existing or proposed industrial zoning in the Bellingham UGA, and seek additional industrial zoning sites countywide in coordination with the industrial land study.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's Port of Bellingham Industrial Land Study, right?
Sure.
Right? Yeah, all right.
So, I mean, go ahead.
Because this is an amendment. So I'm gonna move to amend.
I guess, do you want to pull your?
I will accept your friendly amendment.
That's okay, friendly amendment, all right.
Yes, and I'll second that.
All right, sounds good.
I just wanna let the commission know, this is the official final comp plan for the planning commission, which is why it is more formal. So we will be going with the judicial formalities. So if you wanna make an amendment, please say if you're gonna make an amendment or a friendly amendment. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, then formally, I would like to make an amendment to, Rudd's motion. Is that the right word to say?
Commissioner Brown.
Sorry,
And Brown exception.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes, thank you.
You want me to read out my amendment?
I got it.
You got it?
Thank you.
Read it for the record.
Oh, yes.
Coordination. Oh, yeah, so it'd be coordinate with the city of Bellingham in evaluating benefits and costs of existing or proposed industrial zoning in the Bellingham UGA and seek additional industrial zoning sites countywide in coordination with the Whatcom County Industrial Land Study from July of 2025.
Like it, Red? I
Excellent.
like it.
We got the second.
I guess, second.
So then,
and
to be formal,
His thing, maybe, yeah.
to be formal, let's vote on the amendment to the motion.
Could I just check in with our two members online? I think Sunita and Nick, I think you guys are still there. Do you have any thoughts?
Sounds good. I'm ready to vote.
Yep, works for me.
I mean, would you call the roll on the amendment to the motion?
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Eileen, would you call the roll on the motion, please?
Yes, Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yeah. Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes. Thank you.
I would maybe bring up Matt's suggestion about the definition urban community forest. That'd be okay. Good. So I think it's kind of a minor thing, but it would be, we get the definition of urban community forests of 5 acres or more, 75% tree cover, if I remember correctly. And Matt, you were saying that that differs from definition in the appendix or glossary.
Yeah, the 5 acre thing was in chapter 2, so we're recommending keeping that. And the glossary had a different definition, so we're recommending just deleting the definition in the glossary.
Cool.
Commissioner Terry.
Yeah, how come you would like to delete the definition instead of just changing the definition?
Oh, we could do that too. We could, sure.
I'm kind of I'm asking.
Yeah, we could put it in there, certainly.
Then it's the same, it's the same.
Yeah.
Would you like to make a motion?
I think we have to adjust this, the request anyway that Matt proposed, don't we?
Commissioner Terry, go ahead and make a motion.
I would make a motion that we adjust the definition that's in the glossary to match the definition that we used in chapter 2.
I'll second that.
And we state what that is for.
It's for community forest, but I don't have the definition in front of me.
Urban
Yeah.
and community forest, yeah.
I can read it if you want to bring it up, Matt, if we need that.
Yeah, I had the little spinny wheel there for a minute, so I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, so this is the definition in the glossary we'd like to recommend deleting. And then, let's see, chapter 2. Okay, so I guess we'd like to include this part here, and then in this part here.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we've got kind of text up here that we include, and then, this is the more specific criteria that we use to map those areas in chapter 2. So we could put this and tack this onto the end.
Sorry, Matt, so you were talking about the definition, and it looks like here you're talking about a definition and a policy?
Yeah, but the policy really is an integral part of it, because that's what we actually use. We give that to our GIS specialists and say, hey, will you map this? And so it's an important component of it.
I guess I would argue that definitions should be separate from policy, because policy could change maybe in a couple of years. We don't want to designate those forests on public land. But the definition of what they are remains the same.
I would agree with you.
So Eileen, you have the motion there? You could read it out.
The motion is to adjust the definition in the glossary to match the urban community forest definition in chapter 2.
So can you see that screen with the definition there?
Yes.
Okay. So that would go away. That's.
Seems pretty simple to me.
Yeah, I would not include the policy into it.
I don't think that's the right definition there, Matt. So urban and community forests are, if I remember correctly, vegetated areas on public land, publicly owned land that's greater than 5 acres with 75% or more forest cover.
Okay, that's the policy part. So
That sounds like when we say, hey, what is an urban forest? Like, that's what an urban forest is. And then the. Okay, maybe I'm not reading it right then.
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, can you see the policy here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I was thinking maybe this with this tacked on to the end of the definition. Because this really does kind of define it a little bit.
If I was to ask you like, hey, what's a community forest? In like 2 seconds, what would you say?
This right down here. It's
Yeah,
another,
okay.
right.
That's what I'd say too. I'd say, what is a urban forest, whatever? It's that thing. It's the, which is confusing because it's a policy that's definition. But
We do have to designate, that's the GMA direction,
right.
so. We have to have a policy that directs us to make the map change. It happens to be. There's no definition, so.
Okay.
That's why he's suggesting combining the general discussion above with the actual policy language, because that gets very specific then. That's how we're defining it. Since the GMA doesn't define it, this is how we're gonna do it.
Okay, so you're saying your definition, so would we delete policy 2WW1 then?
No, we have to have the policy
Yeah.
that provides direction
Designated.
to designate it. So yes, we check that box that we comply with the GMA direction. So he would add the policy language just as a last sentence to that area in gray, be the definition in glossary.
Commissioner Masseri.
So is that urban and community forest definition of what I think is the definition above, not in the RCW?
Correct.
Oh. Well, then what's it referring to in the RCW? It mentions urban and community forest in the RCW, but just says nothing about what the definition of it is?
Not in the GMA. There's a definition in a related forestry section, but it doesn't, they're apples and oranges.
Yeah, if I recall, we had a discussion about this about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
A couple of these that are not, we're told to do it, but it's not defined.
Okay, so then Matt, your original idea of simply deleting the definition that's in the back there.
Yeah.
That seems like maybe a simpler way to do it, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would delete, so on this page, you delete the paragraph that starts with urban and community forest, that whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And then if you go back up to the sort of policy and definition that we're working with.
Sure.
So if somebody said, what's an urban forest? You'd say, here's what the RCW says. And then they'd say, okay, what are you doing with them? And we would say, our goal is to support the designation of forests, and our policy is that we are designating urban community forests on public land greater than 5 acres over 75% canopy. I mean, that I guess that makes sense to me. What do you think? Just remove that?
I now understand why you wanted to remove it. I still think it's kind of odd that we have something in here, state mandated, we have in our policy, and yet nobody can define it, or we're struggling to define it. I think is a confusing thing, but I agree that the definitions and the combination of these I don't think they're very good options, so I'm fine if you just want to remove it.
You want to just remove the definition back there? You want a friendly amendment to?
Well, I'm gonna remove my motion to amend it to what the verbiage said in the chapter.
So where are we at here?
I think we need another motion
Yes,
to delete it.
Did you get a second on yours?
Van Dalen, second.
You guys want to remove your?
You wanna withdraw it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, gonna make a new one? No? All right, I'll make a motion, we delete the definition of urban community forests in appendix A glossary.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? So, Eileen, would you call the roll?
No, whoa.
I thought I heard a no out of.
Oh, I said, oh. I was in opposition to the original amendment that removed private lands from this definition, because this is a planning document, and identifying privately owned lands that could meet the definition of urban forest seems highly appropriate. There's no implication that there's any taking going on here. And no implication that they're being prohibited from removing forest canopy other than through the land clearing ordinance. And I think it makes it a more adequate planning instrument if we include privately owned urban forest areas in areas we're surveying. So I don't think I'm not going to support changing the definition, because I think the definition was right before we started messing with it in our policy.
I would be against, the idea of including private land, public designation of an urban forest on private land, just because, my feeling is that will start to try and tell people like, oh, we've got an urban forest on your land, therefore is that the public land now? Can the public access it? Does the government now telling you like, here's some new requirements on there? And then my guess is where this is gonna go in 5 years or so will be that the things you designated as urban forests need a special special requirement of this. That's, I don't know, you gotta preserve all the trees, you gotta plant more trees or whatever. So on publicly owned land, I understand that as public good, but I wouldn't want, I think there's enough like regulations on privately owned land already. I guess I wouldn't want to have that.
I think, would you read the motion back to him?
Yes, Commissioner Dunn moved to remove the urban and community forest definition from the glossary, appendix A. And, Commissioner Van Dalen seconded.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Matheri.
Yeah, now I just remembering back to this, cause I had some issues with this specific definition, but I thought that we, in the end, left it because we grabbed it from somewhere. Is that not right?
It's grabbed from a RCW that's unrelated to GMA. So the Growth Management Act says we need to designate these things, but provides no definition. And it doesn't say what you do once you designate them. And it may be that the legislature may come back, you know, in years to come and you know, determine that. But at this point, the only requirement is to designate them, and there's no GMA definition.
Don't worry about it.
Any further discussion, questions? Pending, would you call a roll, please?
Yes, Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Osari,
Abstain.
Barton,
Yes.
that passes.
We want to talk about the emergency shelter language. There's some thoughts about getting more data from that one. What are your thoughts?
I think we should get the data sent to us. I would surely hope the county council gets it sent to them. I guess I'll take the word for them that they are meeting that. I'm willing to pass it, knowing that the county council is still gonna get a look at it to make sure that we actually are meeting those targets or those requirements, but I don't need to hold up the whole thing to see that data personally.
Matt, can you give us a little more background on that one?
Yeah, so we've got the housing needs analysis, which is Appendix I. So that was developed by Leland Consulting Group, and the City County Planner Group kind of reviewed that and made comments. So that, at the end of it, includes the land capacity analysis for permanent housing. And that's been worked on, you know, by the cities and counties for quite some time. We just received, we're also supposed to do a separate land capacity analysis for emergency housing beds. So that's a new GMA requirement. So we just got the last spreadsheet from the cities today, from a couple cities. So we'd like to add this section right here. A land capacity analysis was conducted for each UGA to compare the total emergency shelter beds needed in the UGA to the land capacity for such beds. These analyses show there's an adequate land capacity to accommodate the emergency shelter beds allocated to each UGA. Just so we have that, we have the permanent housing in there, but we don't have the emergency housing, and we'd just like to add that.
Can you bring that up on the screen for us now?
Oh, is that not? I'm sorry. So yeah, this language right here.
And can you scroll up just slightly with that?
Scroll this way.
Yeah, oh, that works great. Thank you.
I think I would be a little bit uncomfortable adding that language without seeing that capacity analysis. Remember we had some discussion about how you were gonna do the capacity, whether it's gonna be based on like number of churches, or I forget all the details were. I guess I would feel like this, we want to maybe just punt to the council.
So do we need to make a motion to move it on as is?
Oh, eventually for the whole thing.
For the, this will be part of the whole
But I
thing.
think for this one, we wouldn't need, unless we want to make a motion, we wouldn't need to make a motion about this.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let's move on.
So I was just looking over the public comment we received, the written and then the verbal, and I think the stuff that we've already talked about, I think a lot of it's kind of like we'd already talked about it, voted on it, so whatever. I think to me, the things that I dug into that we're probably gonna get appealed on were the comments from Future Wise. So I guess I'd encourage people like this to look at their notes, because after we pass this eventually, and it goes off to whatever, Future Wise probably the ones that will appeal it. Yeah, so they've been building a case this year with their comments as to what they're gonna appeal it on. And essentially it's gonna be on ag lands, and lack of housing for low income folks. And just tying to that, there was 2 cases in front of the growth hearings for this summer that got decided, one with Mercer Island, one with Kitsap. For the Mercer Island, it was that Mercer Island planned for low income housing like 0 to 50%, but they didn't have a way to fund it. And so the board said, you gotta keep that back and figure out how you're gonna fund your low income housing. And then with Kitsap, it was that they didn't plan for enough housing. So Commerce came out a month ago with updated language, the housing element, to kind of reflect those hearings. And I'm assuming that ours will, also be appealed on some kind of grounds. So I guess for electives, I would say read Future Wise comments, and kind of make sure you feel comfortable having answered whatever their concerns are, because that's probably what's gonna come up in a year or so. I think everything else you haven't talked about or ever.
Commissioner Masseri.
Matt, were you looking for a recommendation on the foothills sub-area plan?
Yeah, yes, that would be Exhibit B in your packet. I can see here. Bring that up.
And that's just to your recommendation is just to amend number 1 to reflect where we're at with the modifications to the plan. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, so we talked about rezoning north of Limestone Road to light impact industrial, and that'll actually come in a companion ordinance relating to zoning matters, but this is a map from the Foothills sub-area plan. So this would be changed. The general commercial would be expanded slightly, like by 5 acres down here. And that's just so there's not split zone parcels. And then we've talked about.
You don't have it up, Matt.
Oh, I got it. Let's see, it says.
We could only see your folder.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Can you see the map there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking, yes.
All right, so we'll do this again. Light impact industrial. So this is already in the urban growth area, but it's zoned rural forestry. But during the sub-area plan process, it talked about eventually rezoning that to light impact industrial to maybe have some employment opportunities for the folks up here. General commercial would be expanded by about 5 acres, just so there's not split zone parcels. And then we also talked about this is currently urban residential 4 units per acre. And on both sides of the highway, it would go to URM6, urban residential medium density, 6 units per acre. And again, that House Bill 1220 is kind of driving that, allowing multifamily and that type of thing for a variety.
Yeah, we talked about this multiple times, so I don't
did
really
this
want to rehash that again. I thought you were asking us to change some verbiage here.
Yeah, well, that's the second part this was also part of the Columbia Valley UGA proposal that you discussed this fall. So right now it talks about, mitigation before a rezone. And we're proposing to change that so the mitigation comes along with the development, just like through every other development in Whatcom County.
Yeah, so we've already discussed the map. It's just to update number 1 there.
Number 1.
Yeah, but this map is in the Foothill Sub-Area Plan. So we're asking, all of this is part of Exhibit B. So we're asking you to amend the Foothill Sub-Area Plan map to do this, and then the text to do this.
I see. You want us to update the Foothill Sub-Area Plan to match what we did with the UGA.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And all this was mentioned. Yeah, all this was mentioned in the Columbia Valley UGA proposal.
We worked through that.
And this oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'd make a motion to update the Foothill Sub-Area Plan map to match the proposal for the Columbia Valley UGA and to modify the language in number 1.
This would be
policy, CV1-D, number 1, strike, retain the existing zoning until add mitigate, leave traffic impacts and add address, leaving infrastructure, utility service needs, add through the land division and development permitting process, and strike the rest.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Hampton.
Well, since I was opposed to the rezone to begin with, I think I'm also opposed to making it easier for someone to develop it in an inappropriate area.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
No.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
So,
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
That passes.
Commissioner Brown.
I have an issue to bring up, but it's at the very end before we do the final vote.
Commissioner Van Dalen.
Did Matt have anything else for us to work on yet? Or if we covered all that?
I think the only thing is, when you do make the motion, if you include the findings, if you have any, questions about the findings or changes, we'd want to get that because that would go along with the packet to the county council.
Looks like we're up for you.
Mr. Chair. Is that your desire?
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
Are you ready for
Wow. Oh, geez, do I gotta start a new page?
Well, you took over, I had to give it back to you.
It's true.
All right. Let me hand this out. Eileen, did you forward this on to the?
Yes, I did.
commissioners? No.
Do you need me to pull it up?
Yeah,
Just one page, right?
one page, one page for them.
Is it front and back? Or just
Yeah,
Yeah,
2 pages for
yep.
one sheet of paper.
One sheet, 2 pages.
Right. And for the benefit of those on, the commissioners online, it should be in your email sent just before 6 o'clock.
There we go. I'll hold on.
I've got an extra.
No, we're good. Show my doctor.
There should be one each for.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the background to this, if I may, it's a motion. I'll read the beginning of it and then I'll explain. The motion is that we forward on the comprehensive plan in its current form, but we recommend that the council reject the plan unless the city of Bellingham and the city of Blaine incorporate what is called reasonable measures, which is a specific term in the RCW under the Growth Management Act. The point of reasonable measures is if a community cannot meet its goals according to the Growth Management Act, through the normal process, it then has to turn around and start looking at its permitting rules, its zoning code, the other things inside of the city, the way it conducts the permitting and construction of housing and industrial lands to work out how they can get to meet the growth projections. And the reasons for this, and I could read the whole thing in the record, but I'll do a summary first. Bellingham's proposal is that they will fully satisfy the current and anticipated needs by allocating an additional $133 million a year for the next 20 years to fund 220 additional affordable housing units annually. The fundamental flaw with that is that requires an assessment of $3,000 per household inside the city limits to fund it. There is no legal mechanism for them to do it. There's nothing under state law that would give them the authority to do it. So the money cannot be collected. Therefore, the thing fails on its face. If, however, they did manage to find a way to collect it, it would push many existing city homeowners into poverty, increasing the number of affordable houses, subsidized houses that would have to be built, which would further increase the burden on the rest. Landlords would have to pass this on in the form of a $250 a month increase in rents. And the annual tax of $3,000 is going to create the schism where people are going to say, I'm going to move out into the rural areas because if I move into the rural areas, I don't pay the additional $3,000 in the city of Bellingham taxes. The fundamental problem here is that the city of Bellingham is the most expensive place, Whatcom County, according to the State Department of Commerce, is the most expensive place to build in Washington State, with the exception of Okanagan. It is 55% more expensive to build here than the statewide average. And then to Commissioner Dunn's earlier comment, the State Department of Commerce, in the most recent version of their report, which came out in January, it's a report we've all seen, but they've updated it twice, is Mercer Island and Kitsap County were both forced to revisit their plans because they proposed affordable housing solutions that they did not provide any funding for. And the court said, well, that's not going to fly. Second part of the case of Blaine, if you flip over, is Blaine de-annexed a chunk of land that was ready for development. In fact, 168 units were ready for immediate construction. Everything had been done. So 1,000 units, 100 of them were dedicated for affordable housing. They de-annexed that land, which is largely dry, and are proposing to do their growth in an area that is almost entirely wet or buffers. But they have not identified any source of wetlands mitigation, what it's going to cost, how much is involved, who's going to pay for it, and whether the cost actually makes the land affordable or unaffordable at the end of it. So I think Blaine has to be held to account for saying, how is this economically viable? How's it going to be funded? So that's my motion, and I'll add other points afterwards. I get a second.
I will second that for discussion.
And then I will add simply, if we vote for this in its current form, without putting this caveat on the top of it, we are voting in effect to support a $3,000 per household tax on the community, because if we're voting for it, we're saying we think this plan is viable. And the only way to fund that is to raise taxes on everybody in Bellingham by $3,000. So if we vote for it as it is, that's what we're saying we believe we should do. If we vote for it knowing that's not viable, then we're really voting for something that we know is not a true document. And what we're also doing is we're endorsing a continual program of just saying it doesn't matter what housing costs, you can increase the cost every year. Government, you don't have to worry about the cost. And I would just remind everybody that there was a ballot initiative on a charter amendment that came up that was voted on by people who are obviously fed up with the rising costs of housing. 87% of people in Whatcom County voted to require government to identify what it costs to do something before we start voting on new legislation. Because people are just saying, they can't take it that government just keeps increasing the costs with no consequence. And then the final point I make before I yield, you mentioned FutureWise. You mentioned FutureWise suing on issues like low-income housing. If we approve a comp plan, knowing that there is no funding mechanism that's viable, then we are guaranteeing that FutureWise is going to sue us on that particular point. So we need to push back to the city of Bellingham and say, you got to get a grip on costs. Not just keep saying, oh, just raise taxes, just raise taxes. You've got to get a grip on costs. And with that, I'll yield.
Chris Behe, City of Bellingham, go ahead.
Thank you. Chris Behe, Long Range Planning Division Manager for the City of Bellingham. I just wanted to clarify, just to make it really clear that the identification of the 133 million gap for Bellingham, which would be, we have capacity identified in our land capacity analysis to build that amount of housing as far as the space and the regulatory structure. But those 220 units that would be market rate without that subsidy that we identified are where that gap is. Nowhere in our plan do we propose a $3,000 per household or per individual tax. That's just purely identifying the gap. What we do identify are the things that we feel during the planning period we're able to pull off, and that includes a whole list of things, including about 15 million a year in subsidy that comes from local and state and federal tax and other sources, as well as nonprofits. So we anticipate that continuing at existing funding levels. And then we also have things like the multifamily tax exemption and a whole suite of incentives allowing additional density, height, and similar things to try and prompt the private development community to participate in the solution as well. So we felt it prudent and especially to comply with that guidance from Commerce. We didn't benefit from their more recent guidance, but when we saw the Mercer Island case come forward, we felt like identification of that funding gap is critical to say we're doing and including in our plan goals and policies around what we feel is possible for our community, but we don't pretend that that's going to fix the solution. It's far from that, but it's everything we feel is reasonable given the resources of our community. So that's kind of where we sit on that. And we have never even contemplated that 3,000 per household, the idea of covering that with a local tax or something. We just know that's not possible. That wouldn't be something that would be feasible. So sorry, just felt like I needed to clarify that. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, but Chris, the exact words are, we would need to allocate an additional $133 million a year. That's the entire city of Bellingham budget. So, and I know you've made the argument, hey, we got $15 million before, we got it through a combination of federal funding and local dollars. Well, let's break the $15 million down. Of the $15 million, 9% of it was federal funding. Approximately 56% was a levy, affordable housing levy money, and the rest of it was ARPA dollars. There are no more ARPA dollars. So of that $15 million, if we did exactly the same thing this year as we did last year, sorry, as we did in 2024, of the $15 million, $13.5 million has to come from City of Bellingham residents paying taxes, because that's the only source of money. So I don't understand where the $133 million is going to come. And if the thought is, well, we're going to get federal dollars, I don't know why any federal government department would allocate money to build half as many houses in Bellingham as they could build in Spokane for the same amount of contribution. So where is the 133 coming from?
I don't think we're arguing with you on this point. I think we all agree, all reasonable minds, I think, agree that that 133 million is a huge gap. All we've done in that analysis is identify that number and say, if we were to subsidize all of those houses that we think are likely to come online at market rate, that, you know, we need 220 of those to completely fulfill the need of the income ranges that we have in our community and that we anticipate having over the next 20 years. That we would need to somehow come up with a figure that would be close to $130 some million a year to completely satisfy that need. And so we're just being perfectly honest and saying we don't anticipate fully satisfying that need, as most communities in Washington, I think, are doing, because nobody has those resources. This is just to satisfy the from an analysis standpoint, to say we are aware of what the gap is. We are doing everything we feel possible to close that gap as much as we can. And what we've listed in the Bellingham plan with respect to those local, state, and federal dollars that are available, and trying to, again, bring the private community in. We feel like that's the progress we feel like we're likely to make, but we don't make any.
I'm going to interrupt him here because we've gone down this path before and it ended up with an argument that we sat going back and forth for a while. And I heard you make your point, and then I heard you make it again, and I heard you make it again. And so we have it, and I'm not sure that you and some of the planning commission members will ever come to an agreement on it. So we have the issue raised, and you've admitted you don't have the funding, and I think that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Commissioner McCary.
So the motion's on the table. Would this just be our final motion and recommendation to the council? This is moving the entire packet with this caveat?
Yeah.
The motion is on the table?
I thought your motion was to approve this, but was your motion to?
Well, the intent is to improve this, and it accompanies the packet.
Could you restate your motion?
Okay, so the motion is to approve this letter as it's written. There's one small typo at the end, but approve this matter as it's written, attach it to the comprehensive plan, and then forward that on to the council.
I'm just curious, you seconded it, I believe. Are you still good with that?
Yes, but I have concerns.
Are we still in a discussion? Sorry.
We haven't started yet.
Oh, man.
We've got another round. What are you talking about?
Well, I was just wondering if we could take care of this as a motion, knowing that right after that we would, and we're just sending this to the county council to express our concerns.
Yeah.
And then have a motion, which is where I kind of was thinking we were going to move the packet through. I was kind of thinking two separate motions.
Yep.
that's, I guess, my question.
I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, but I don't know, Ron, are you okay?
I'm fine with that, sir.
Chunk?
Oh, no, let's,
Okay.
let's just bifurcate, that's fine.
All right,
Okay.
so we officially pull the.
Just a moment.
All right.
Eileen, go ahead.
So the motion, excuse me, would be to approve the letter as written and attach it to the comprehensive plan update.
Yes. One minor typo, the end of the very last sentence of the first page. Delete the word to between sources and with. That's it.
I thought that was just kind of an Australian thing.
Wait, what's wrong?
Okay.
Yeah, Rudd, why would we send the packet forward and say you should reject it because of these things? Why wouldn't we send it forward and say, we think you need to reevaluate Bellingham and Blaine? Because I believe we never even sent a recommendation on Bellingham because we couldn't get approval. So I'm completely fine to say, you better look at Bellingham again, because we didn't like it when we looked at it the first time. Just the way you're prefacing it, that we say, reject the comprehensive plan. I would more say, we're good with most of it, we just want you to look at these couple items.
And that's fine too. Remember,
That's how
part of the nuance here is we have no right to ask for reasonable measures. I think that's a council reserved for the council under the RCWs. So we can recommend that you look at reasonable measures, which is a very specific term. But only the council can say to the cities, you need to adopt reasonable measures to actually comply with it.
And I think I agree with your intent, just the way that it's prefaced. I feel like we're almost recommending that they reject what we've done in a way versus saying.
So how
That's what it says, it's rejected until, yeah.
I would just have a company with our recommendation that they, reevaluate Bellingham and Blaine's, UGAs for reasonable measures, or whatever else context you want to put around it.
Right. Let me just, I'm certainly open to wording if you've got something you want to propose.
I agree with you, Dominic. That was sort of my concern as well, is like telling the county council to reject a thing that we've approved just seems a little backwards, I
You can't,
guess.
can't do that.
But I would also support the idea of like, hey, we are passing this thing on to you and we'd like you to take a special look at X, Y, and Z, whatever.
Go ahead.
I'm a little confused, I learned that from Colombo. I'm a little confused because City of Bellingham is coming up with a comprehensive plan that's supposed to deal with these housing issues. And then we're supposed to look at their proposals to increase and or shrink their UGAs. Within that context, we see a lot of, some of us see an economic logical issue with how Bellingham is going about trying to meet its GMA obligations. And I would suggest that this would be appropriate to take this issue to the Bellingham City Council. And because Bellingham has the ultimate responsibility to meet this GMA obligation, and nothing that we've done so far has impacted their UGAs, which is the only power we really have with them. So that's my first point. The second point is the people in Blaine voted to de-annex that area. And I think it's pretty arrogant of us to jump in and tell the council the city of Blaine voters made a mistake. I don't think, and so I don't support that at all.
Commissioner Brown.
So, I'll do the second one first. As I understand it, the county council controls annexation and urban boundaries. No, they do.
They have to be petitioned to be annexed, right?
But the ultimate decision at a local level is at the county council, not at the city government. Right. In fact, the county council actually has the authority to force the cities to increase their UGAs. And Mark, please jump in if I'm wrong.
So in that respect, that Dan corrected, but I still support the voters of City of Blaine in their position.
And that's, of course, you're right. But the county council has the right.
Okay. Thank you.
To reject the de-annexation, I believe, just as they have the right to reject annexation. So That's really all.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna interrupt here. Commissioner Hampton has recognized your point.
Yeah.
I'd like us to move on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think, so with that, when I'm looking at the back of this, I think it says that, like, it doesn't say that you should re-annex it, just from reading it. Not to show, Blaine proposes the UGA is substantially more impaired. The UGA, the economic jobs and development will require, it's about wetlands to me, like that second part. I don't see anywhere where it says, hey, the Blaine voters were wrong. And I agree with you. I think if we did say, oh, no, you voters were wrong, that would seem pretty wrong, to me. Is there a part on the back that you're seeing that I'm not seeing where it says, hey, you should re-annex the DNX part?
I guess not.
Okay.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, my only problem with the Blaine point here, de-annexation aside, it's just questioning their availability in their current UGA. When we had that discussion, it seemed like they just disagreed with your maps. Seems like they were pretty confident they had enough. You're just calling into question their land capacity analysis. Is that true?
So the maps, if you go on the county website now, and I think most of the small cities probably use the same data. And you look at the county wetlands delineation map, it's a guide, it's not definitive, but it's a guide. You read the small print in the legend box, it says it's based on 1980 aerial photography. It is incredibly inaccurate. If you go to the Department of Ecology or the NRCS maps or the National Wetlands Inventory maps, which is what that example is built on, it's built on the government layers, nothing made up, it's all government layers. The land is far more impaired. And by the way, so is almost all the county. It's far more impaired than anything that shows up on that old 1980s map. And the main reason is if you read the fine print on it, the 1980s map acknowledged that if the wetland was a category 1 wetland, which is the most significant, and it was greater than less than 3 acres in a forested area, they didn't even pick it up. Right, so it doesn't pick up category 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, and I don't know what Blaine used, other than Blaine said that they were confident in what they did. So we're kind of calling into question their whole analysis, is what you're doing.
And I will say, and I'm going to be releasing all my data shortly, but I will say the mapping I have done, I believe, is far more accurate than any jurisdiction, with the exception probably of the city of Bellingham, has done. And it's all it is it's just a compilation of the state and the most recent state and federal maps. It's nothing more than that.
So let's kind of get back to what.
So I worked on a suggestion based on what Dominic said. If I can read that, maybe that will solve the problem, right? So the first paragraph would read, Whatcom County Planning Commission recommends that you require the cities of Bellingham and Blaine adopt reasonable measures as defined by the Growth Management Act to amend their plans to meet their obligations under the GMA.
I think that sounds all right. I was just waiting for Matt to write it out.
Yeah.
I'm the one writing it, sorry.
Oh.
I'll read
Eileen,
City of Bellingham and Blaine as defined by the growth management act.
Can I make?
I'll just let her finish. To amend their plans to meet their obligations under the GMA. Hold on.
And probably delete the stuff in parentheses as defined by.
No, leave that.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, because it should be the words reasonable measures been taken out.
Oh, okay, you're gonna put those back in.
City of Bellingham and Blaine adopt reasonable measures.
Okay.
And amend their plans?
And
Or
as defined in the GMA.
yeah, define the
To
GMA.
amend their plans to meet their obligations under the GMA.
Okay.
And in this situation, if Blaine can prove that they're satisfying their needs, then,
Fine,
then there they go.
Yeah, but there needs to be an analysis. Every jurisdiction, this is the thing that's frustrating. Every jurisdiction in the state needs to start actually doing an analysis as to what the wetlands and buffer requirements are before they do forecasting as to what their ability to meet their obligations. Because the reality is they say, oh yeah, we've got plenty of land over there until you come in for a permit. Oh, that part doesn't work. You have to use, oh, actually that part doesn't work. Oh, yeah, gee whiz, none of it works, sorry.
Commissioner Van Dalen.
Related to that, even though we only got the Future Wise letter on January 21 at 4:56 p.m., which just blows my mind. I actually printed the whole thing so I could read it and go through it, and written by lawyers. It even says it's a setup for suing like you can't possibly imagine. I'm already sick and tired of being sued by the Department of Ecology because I got a well on my property, and all this says is get ready. Well, who pays for all these lawsuits? Eventually, it's all of us citizens. And anyway, that's why I support stuff like this, because got to get it as right as possible, because they're just waiting to sue. Every bit of this 36 pages of stuff they wrote was exactly that. We disagree with you on this. We agree with you on this. Anyway, that's why I support something like this.
Okay, Eileen, would you read the motion back to us? So basically move to approve and then the next wording.
To approve the letter from Commissioner Brown as written and attach it to the comprehensive plan.
Should it say as revised?
Oh,
As amended. Yeah.
Okay. And Eileen, I'm gonna recommend revised if you're okay with that rather than as amended.
Yes, of course.
All right. Eileen,
Mhm.
can you scroll down that other typo that Commissioner Brown mentioned? Did we take that out? Take that two out? Last sentence on the first page.
Oh, got it.
So that two. There you go.
So would you, again, Eileen, restate the motion?
Yes. Commissioner Brown moved to approve the letter to approve his letter as revised and attach it to the comprehensive plan update.
All right, is there any more discussion? Commissioner Hampton?
I guess I support what Mr. VAB says in regard to all the jurisdictions in Washington state have the same dilemma of trying to match up regulations with realities. And I believe that they're doing the best they can. So I think I would, at this point, not indicate that I don't think that they're doing an adequate job in this regard.
Are there any other comments or is there any change you think to it, Commissioner Hampton? Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Abstain.
Greif,
No.
Hanson,
No,
Jefferson, oh, Jefferson's not here, Osari.
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
that passes.
Did you get called? Did you get called?
It passes 5-3.
We'll make our final
I think it's time.
motion.
Your final official act.
Yeah.
Our final official act. You'll have to help me with the wording, because I'm just gonna. I move that we send along the a recommendation, the planning commission recommends the 2025 comprehensive plan.
I'll second it.
What do you need?
And the associated findings.
And the
Those words.
Staff that I do my
Let's
way
gotta
to
get
mark
those
that.
legal words. So we don't get sued.
Don't get sued.
We get sued anyways, you know what I'm saying? I know.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none.
I was just trying to be polite, letting other people get in there first.
I'm right next to you, you could just talk me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not quite domestic violence, but okay. I'm gonna vote against this because I think we're sidestepping the real intent of the Growth Management Act, which is to do everything we can to limit rural sprawl. I think we've adopted an unrealistic high population projection. The county has, and then designated a number of low-income housing opportunities through what I've previously referred to as rural ghettos. And I don't think that's right. And I think that the problems with UGAs that they're in our UGAs that are in inappropriate areas, and I brought this up and then shot down, but I just have to stick with my principles on this. I agree with FutureWise about the potential for expanding UGAs into inappropriate areas of agriculture and wetlands. Even though we push that aside till next year, I still see that we have looming issues about that we need to confront. I think in general, we've modified this to provide more lenient interpretations of regulations. Whereas I think we should have stuck with the consultant's language to make them more strict to help better implement the intent and the letter of the urban growth area. I participate. I don't agree with what we did on the urban forest area. I don't think we've been strong enough on wildlife corridors. I've participated in 3 comp plan updates now, and I remember the 1-2 back that was appealed, and it really messed the county up having that on appeal for years and years. It cost us a lot in money and opportunities. So in that way, for different reasons, I agree with Commissioner Brown that this doesn't really cut it. Now, hopefully, I imagine I will be a minority vote here, but hopefully the county council can fix this so it does pass muster and so it does meet these kinds of goals and objectives and aspirations that I think it should meet. But I can't sign off on approval of it because I don't think it really does the job.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Craig.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add a couple of thoughts at the end of this almost year-long process. First, I want to apologize for not being there in person today. I had a health issue with a family member that's kept me at home, but I did wish that I could have been there. But my broader thoughts, one, I just want to appreciate every member of this commission for the work over the past year. This has not been easy. Sorry, I feel like I am out of breath, but it's just because I was walking across a section of my house, so it's not. Sorry, not choking up here. But I think the amount of additional meetings we've had has been significant. I do think this could often be a thankless process, and everyone should be appreciative of the work they put in. In terms of the overall GMA, I do think, and I've said this before, I'm going to support the comp plan. I don't see a reason in voting it down, although I understand Commissioner Hansen's reasons. I do think we made, not us as a commission necessarily, but the county as a whole and the jurisdictions made a mistake in the way that they allocated population, and that flow through has affected all of our work. There's only so much we can do when the joint jurisdictional allocation put so much housing in places where it probably should not have been allocated, which is going to cause downstream effects from vehicles miles traveled and the other areas that are, challenging from both the things that we're going to get sued on, but also just overall the goals I think a lot of us have shared for housing affordability as well as reducing environmental impact. So that was just a few closing comments. Apologies, I'm out of breath. It's been a wild couple of weeks at my house. But just again, I want to thank everybody for all their work on this. I think it's been an amazing experience for me and I hope for other members of the commission as I close out my first year.
There any other comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Van Dalen.
I'll back that up as I support moving it on as well. We did a lot of hard work and I'll just back that up and it's been a year and I'm glad we're here. So that's it.
Any other comments? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
That passes.
Commissioner Masseri.
So I yield.
I have another motion to make. Is that appropriate at this time? I did send it on. I don't think it ever got sent out to everybody. I sent it to Eileen.
I didn't see anything.
It was in my response if I was attending, but
About complaining, because a little bit late.
it kind of is, but not, yes. Yeah. Either way, I would like to make a motion that at the conclusion of the council adopting the comp plan, that the county does an audit of the cost of the comp plan, both staff and consultants. And then bring that back to the planning commission just for information purposes. I'd just be curious. I think that we get a lot piled onto us from the state without maybe realizing what the costs are. What's the return on that, right? The amount of money that we spend here and what did we get for what we did? And I just think that's good for us to keep that in perspective, whether or not it changes anything internally for the county. Maybe it gets passed up to the state legislator, but I think, you multiply our cost by every other county and every other city in the state. And I think we spent a lot of money on this. And I'm not sure we got our return for it. So that's my motion.
I would second that. And I think probably under the recent charter amendment that was like the performance, I don't know what the exact language was, but there's a couple I'm thinking of. One is like the performance of like to audit the county overall, and the other is to perform like how does it affect the cost of housing. I think both those things are relevant to this process. I think it'd be good to have some sort of analysis of like, hey, we just finished this giant process. There's staff time, consultant time, like I said, there's members of the public time, there's all this time happen. What was the output? Like, what did we get for the $millions spent, or whatever?
Billions. Is there any more discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would just suggest that since we have a requirement to go through this process and we have minimal funding to support this, it may be appropriate for the state to consider making it less frequent. That way if we're talking about money savings.
It's only once every 10 years.
Any other, just a thought,
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Greif,
Yes.
Great.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
Passes.
Well, if it's only every 10 years, it sure feels like a 100-year flood.
Every 2 years, here we go.
Commissioner Brown.
I would like to make a motion of appreciation. Chair Kelvin Barton,
Yes,
for your 10 years of honorable service.
I'll second that.
Yeah. And you're a great mom.
Good night.
Not that who's counting.
Not that you count.
I was hoping to make it kind of to 11, but
For clarity, Mr. Director, will he receive a certificate of appreciation?
Well, he certainly will, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
Look at that.
I have this wonderful gold embossed
All right.
certificate and also a plaque.
Wow.
Nice.
Now we're talking.
You get a plaque, you make 10-year lead.
We'll take a picture.
Will you hold something there?
Yeah, picture.
Yeah, yeah.
For some of the commissioners here know I'm really ill, and so I wear this. And and I'm supposed to wear it everywhere I go.
Take it off for 2 seconds and put it back on.
Just a second here. Gotta wear this. I should have worn my Harvey one.
You should.
Billy Bob Thornton in the land. What do you hold that? That that's presented to you as the chair. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the commission and to the county, 2015 to 2026. And that goes along with the certificate of appreciation. And you can smile for the camera. Oh, is that? This is.
And then, would you do me the favor? This is my spouse over here. She has been right supporting me, but she sits at home, and when we were going through 2 meetings a week and things like that, well, I'm not there with her. And she has put up a lot. So.
Well, I said go to the meeting. You're doing a great service, so.
Thank you for putting up with us.
Thank you.
For 10 years.
Yes, I do that. You're welcome to shake my hand with some of you know that I can't do that, but they tell me that I can as long as I use disinfectant. And,
Well, get your mask back on. Take care of yourself. Salute.
thank you all. It's been a real pleasure.
If I may just say one thing to spell, sorry, I missed your name.
Patty.
One of the best political advertisements I ever saw was a woman saying, "Re-elect my husband. I can't stand the idea of him keeping."
Oh.
So let's see, where are we?
Is there any new business?
Well, I'd like to move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, commissioners. Meeting adjourned.